a FabLite tutorial. I'm your FabLite expert, John, and whether you're just checking out our software, just got your own brand new FabLite, or you're already experienced with FabCreator and want to see if there are any new tricks, this series is for you. If you want to see more of this kind of content from us, give it a thumbs up to let us know it's useful, and subscribe to our channel as we release more tutorial videos. Have an idea for a video or want to see how something is done on FabCreator or on a FabLite? Let us know in the comments. If you didn't watch the previous tutorial, make sure to watch that first, because in this video, we're going to focus only on the tube processing aspects of our software. Let's jump right in. Everything so far in processing files for tube cutting remains the same. We import our drawings, and if we've layered it into drafting software, it will automatically import that geometry into those process folders. You can change the order or process for each geometry the same way as before, and island detection and path optimization works the same. The Edit tab has all the same functionality of the sheet parts we processed for your tube parts. Where we see our first change is when we get to the Properties tab. We'll check to make sure our database is the same, but this time, instead of choosing Sheet, we're going to choose Tube. You'll now see the Catalog dialog box change and a new Tube Part Properties dialog appear to help guide you along for your tube processing. First, we need to select the correct shape of our tube. For this example, we're going to show you how to process a square tube. The round and rectangular tubes have a similar process that can be followed. Then, we'll need to choose the material we want to cut, just as we did for our sheet parts. Once we move down to the Tube Properties dialog, we can now choose the width of our tube and the wall thickness. A handy guide on the left shows us what dimension is being referenced for each property. Finally, we need to select a corner radius. If your tube is already in our database, you'll find typical corner radii for your materials. Note, the actual measurement of your corner radius on your tube can vary greatly from one manufacturer to another, especially for stainless steel and steel square tubes. The default value in our database is meant to be a value that works for many tubes. If you find your FabLite is having trouble around corners, this value can be changed to a custom value to make necessary adjustments. An alternative to corner radius is to pick a tube diagonal if you desire. If we move over to our geometry window, we'll notice some differences between our tube and sheet metal parts. First, our tube parts will show an orange dashed line that indicates an exact fit has been made between the drawing that was imported and the tube width, wall thickness, and corner radius combination selected. This is important to verify before proceeding to the other tabs to make sure your FabCreator and your FabLite interpret your part correctly. The orange dashed line also indicates where your seam will exist on your tube. This is important to note once we get to the Job tab. In addition, you'll notice several groupings of white dashed lines through your part. These represent the edges and centers of the radii of your corners. These are great to reference if you want to check to see if any of your features are wrapping around your corners. Once we've set our tube properties, the engrave and raster settings can be left at default as we did in the sheet part we made before. Now we can click Accept. The Process tab for tubes is similar to the process for sheets, but if we click on tabs, we can see a few changes. First, note that your part already has several tabs on either the left or the right edge of the part drawing. This has been done automatically for you to make working with tubes effortless. Due to how your FabLite holds tubes, both ends of your part must be tabbed to ensure your parts come out the way you expect them to. You can change the number of tabs if you wish to try and minimize any finishing operations from 4 to 3 tabs. If you try to delete all tabs, a notification will appear confirming this decision. You should only do this if you want to delete all of the tabs to reinsert your own tabs in specific locations. We'll cancel out of this and click Done to move to our final Job tab. Here, your job will look similar to a sheet cut part, but if we click Show Job Preview, we'll see our part transform into a 3D version of our tube that we've specified. We can use the View toolbar controls across the top of our window to change the views, or we can click Shift and right-click to rotate our part. Remember our orange indicator line? You may be asking yourself, what happens if that line doesn't appear, but it looks close enough? Let's go back to our Properties tab and put a custom corner radius, like 0.05. If we do this, we see our orange indicator line has disappeared. Zooming in, we see our white dotted project lines don't exactly match up with our geometry. We'll go ahead and click Accept, and notice that our new corner radius doesn't exist in our database. This should be the first sign to an operator that something is off, but we'll continue. Back on our Job tab, we can click Show Job Preview again, and we see the tube looks okay for the most part. However, if we look around our tube to check all of the features, we see on the bottom that the tube has not connected the seam properly. Compare this to the properly processed tube, and we see no seam lines around the tube. This should be your final check to ensure you've processed your tube correctly. Finally, we can also do a step and repeat, but for tubes, we can only repeat in the x-axis along the length of the tube. We can also autofill a specified length, or we can specify a certain number of tubes, similar to how we did the sheet parts, but just in one direction. And that's it. You can make and save your FabCreator tube file and send it over to your FabLite and start cutting away. To recap, a handy dialog box is available to the left of your tube dimensions for easy reference. Square and rectangular tube corner radii are important to ensure good tube cuts. Remember, orange line, everything's fine. And last but not least, use your view tools to check around your tube parts. Remember, cut right, cut with FabLite.